Hello, I'm Marky Dragon, also known as Marcus Eikenberry in real life, and I've got a question here today from Dririum. Now, Dririum happens to be the same guy who's been giving away these WoW TCG codes, and TCG codes. I believe that's what they are. Yes. I've never used one myself, so if I get the terminology wrong, you just have to forgive me. So let's right now give away one of these codes before we get to his question, and it's a very old school question. It's really fun. So this right here will get you something in World of Warcraft, and Dririum has provided this, his game store, and I'll put a link in the description to his Facebook page. Check it out, and tell them thank you for supplying these codes. Tell them to send some more along if they'd like some more given out. I'm running low. In fact, that might have been the last one. Is that the last one? Let's see here. Yeah, yep. That was the very last one. So, okay, here's his question. He says, you and I are both well aware of the fact that we miss and loved UO when it was in its strong years. Yes, UO was a one-of-a-kind game. Truly amazing. He says, Richard Garriott has stated he wishes to resurrect UO by making a new Lord British type game. Do you think that a non-level, non-item based game has any place in today's market? I know that UO peaked around 250,000 members, and that was actually a lot for the time, and he mentions that in here. Ultima Online, they thought that if they got 10,000 members, they were going to be successful. I kid you not, 10,000. And it went way beyond what they ever envisioned. He says, but nowadays that's considered to be a dead game. It's a minor game these days. Do you think that there are enough of us out there that would enjoy playing an open world sandbox, or have level-based grind all day long games overshadowed it to the point of no return? Well, okay, so this non-level game. So for those of you that never played Ultima Online, let me explain. There was no character levels. There was There were levels of items, but they were not like they are in World of Warcraft or all these other games. You didn't have level numbers on your character. You had strength, dexterity, and intelligence. You had those three things on your character, and then you also had skills. Like you could be skilled in crafting, and when you had 100, you were a grandmaster. And you could be skilled in swordsmanship, and so you could fight better with the sword. But the sword that you carried did not have anything to do with your swordsmanship skill. It had to do with your strength, dexterity, and intelligence, and making sure that you just had enough strength to carry that sword. And then your dexterity, if you had really low dexterity, it would cause you to not be able to wield that sword very well. And so it wasn't like, okay, if I get to level 59, I'm going to be better than level 58. It wasn't like that at all. And now you had a pool of points that you could do, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that it was 300 points or so, or maybe 350 points that you had that you could apply to your swordsmanship, your craftsmanship, woodworking. You could even be a lumberjack. Your thievery skill, your axe wielding, you could even get a skill for campfire making, and you could be a grandmaster fire starter or whatever they were called. And you could really grandmaster like 3 of these. And so you could be a triple grandmaster, and you would take your skills that you had there, and you would make sure that they complemented one another. Like a mage would work, in the magic stuff, but also might do alchemy. And there was swordsmanship, may do, I don't know. I don't even remember the combinations, but there were combinations of things that you would do. And like you wouldn't necessarily do, well, one of the skills I did was hiding. And I always became Grandmaster at hiding. And the reason for that was because I was always worried about getting player killed. And if you were a Grandmaster at hiding, then you had your other two skills to go out and earn a living with. But I would always save myself because I could always hide. And I could hide almost all the time, almost every single time. And so just when I'd get running far enough away that they were off the screen or whatnot, bam, I'd just stop right where I was and hide. Or I'd move over right behind a tree and I'd watch them run on by. Or when there was a lot of creatures around and I was getting too risky, I could hide. And then they would not be aggressive on me, aggro on me. And so do I think that this type of game could come around? I really do think that this type of game, do you remember that this game received a couple of awards? One of them was Coaster of the Year. And that was, Coaster of the Year was actually, it was some game magazine, PC Gamer magazine. They gave out the Coaster of the Year award, suggesting that the CD that it was installed on should rather be used as a coaster than to play the game. And they thought that the game was horrible. But it also many times got labeled as a chat program. And what was really interesting about that is that many people saw this as a grand way to chat with avatars. And so it was really cutting edge and really different. Now, what if we could take something like Minecraft? How about a massive multiplayer Minecraft? And something like that, but everybody builds medieval stuff and it's in Ultima style. I actually think that if Ultima Online were remade, that if Garriott could get the rights to redo that I think it'd be a fabulous game. And I think that a lot of the things that are considered to be mainstream now, like levels, and Care Bear Land, not having, player versus player, I think that those should go away. I know that a lot of players are turned off by being killed by other players. But believe it or not, that was really part of the charm of Ultima Online, was the risk. Because I felt a great sense of reward when I accomplished something and I didn't get killed. Now, maybe make death not permanent, make it an inconvenience. In Ultima, you lost everything originally whenever you got killed because, well, you didn't lose everything, but it really depended on the person who killed you, who was looting your body. They would just take the really valuable stuff. So you were really, really careful not to get killed. And because if you did, you turned into a ghost and you had to go and get resurrected, and then you had to try and find your way home, which really usually involved, at least for me, how I would set it up is I would always have a recall rune to my home in my bank. And I have like a castle or a keep or something like that, and I would have only one rune that was marked on the grounds in there, and it was always stay in my bank. I could never recall to it from anywhere but the bank, and then I would always carry a rune on me to the bank. And that way I could never get killed with my rune to my home on me and then get my house robbed. And that's another thing. Getting your house robbed, that was something that happens. These are all things that happen in real life. I mean, recalling to the bank, recalling home, no, those don't happen. You drive or whatever, you walk. But that was just a mode of transportation. But something like the risk of getting your house robbed in real life, that happens in real life. And, I've had my car stolen before. I've had my car broken into before. I've had stuff stolen from me before. And that really sucks. But it's all part of life, and it's part of the risk, and the rewards are, you know, you know, protecting yourself and everything. And this is something that if there was a game out there that was like this, I would take a serious look at it. Now, I don't know that anything ever can replace Ultima Online. The magic of that, I mean, okay, let me equate it to something. And for you guys that are older, you kids, plug your ears. But what about the first time you had sex? You can probably remember that pretty clearly. And it, you know, it's something that, you know, it's very hard to replicate that first time again later. You know, plenty of good stuff out there, but that very first experience, the magic of that, you know, you just can't replace that. And so this is what Ultima Online was like, and it just can't be replaced. So now, what I would like to see is I'd like to encourage Richard Garriott to do what he can to get licensed again to do it. And that may involve having to buy Ultima Online back. You know, the game is not as big as it was. The property is not worth as much money as it was before. They tried multiple times before to recreate this game to come out with a version 2. And those got killed because they got scared that the original one, which was working well, would then, people would defect to the new version. And maybe they were right, but at the same time, maybe they could have really, if they had done some new versions, maybe they really could have brought it into the next level. And so, you know, I'm just thinking like how, you know, Star Wars MMOs and everything. I mean, there's been a few different versions of that, and they're really good. You know, WoW, you can't compare anything to WoW, because WoW is statistically, you take, when you're taking stats, you take the top one off and you take the bottom one off, because they are out of the norm, and WoW is out of the norm, and you just can't compare it to that, at least not in the US market. If we were looking at the global market and some of the numbers of some of these games that we have in other places like Korea or Asia or something like that, well then you may have to take them out, because there are bigger games than WoW. I bet you didn't know that. There are bigger games than WoW, and games that are way bigger than WoW. But they're not here in the United States. So anyway, would I like to see that? Yes. Do I encourage Richard Garriott to see what he can do on that? Absolutely. Richard, in fact, if you want to do something like that, I want to work with you on it. And I don't take that lightly, because I don't work for anybody. I always work on my own. But that would be one project that I would love to do, and I'd put my heart and soul into it, and I would just really love it. It would be great. So anyway, Dream, thanks for all those codes. Send us some more. And I hope that answers your question. And if Richard has said that Lord British will walk the streets of Britannia again, but I don't know what form that's going to take. And so, and he's talked a little bit about that, but it's yet to be seen what that's actually going to look like. So, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm Marcus Eichenberry. Take care.